finally back for day 2 or tutorial 2. So last time I had gotten this zombie movement system set up, and actually I have changed my mind on some of it. For starters, inside the zombie controller, the zombie controller module, line 18 for me, it could be a different line for you. I'm gonna set the animation's parent to be the zombie. And then I think I'll just go ahead and get rid of this folder right here. And then I'm going to redo this entire system right here. So instead of using the move to function, and I mean, if you want to use it, that's totally fine. You just have to know some scripting and be able to work around some of the stuff in future tutorials. But I'm just going to use normal tweens for this. So yeah, I'll just go and delete all that. For starters, the top here, we're going to want to get tween service. Yep. So we're going to create an empty variable called movement tween. And then we are going to get the target position, the start position, and one more thing. In my last tutorial, I didn't realize that both of these humanoid root parts were backwards. So you can control R those twice and then make sure to re-weld it. Or sorry, rejoint it. There we go. Oh, and then if you want to see which way it's facing, like I just did, you can click the part you want to check the orientation of, and then right click, then show orientation indicator. Just put those back for now. Back to the zombie controller. I'm gonna add a new variable called direction. That's just gonna be the target position minus the start position dot unit. Then we're going to get the Y angle, which you can see right here, math.atan2, I don't know if I pronounced that right, it turns the arc tangent of y/x in the radius. Well, it's kind of complicated. Okay, I'm back after my cousin rudely interrupted me. Right, math.atan2. I probably pronounced that wrong again, but oh well. You can read this Roblox documentation if you want to look into this. I honestly vaguely know what it does, and I'd be a terrible person to explain it honestly. we're gonna put two variables in, direction, negative direction x and negative direction z. And then finally, for this movement, we are going to tween it. So we're just gonna create a tween, and then if we have, that's right here. Nope, keep that here, and we'll just, if we have a walk animation, then we can play it. Movement tween, which is this variable right here, which we're basically going to say, hey, this is equal to the tween that makes the zombie move. That way, later in this main function right here, if we ever want to stop the zombie, say if he needs to eat a plant or if he dies, we can just stop the tween. In my last game that I had, and like my kit too, I think I just used movement speed, which isn't the most efficient way of doing it. It works fine though. This is just more reliable. So we're going to create a tween, and if you are new to tween service and creating tweens, I would probably find a tutorial for that before going on with this one. So inside tweeninfo.new, we're going to put another parentheses. We're going to put the target position minus the start position dot magnitude, which is going to be the distance in studs between the two. Then enum.easingstyle.linear. Go outside of those parentheses, which is, so this right here. No, sorry, this right here is a whole group. So in between these two parentheses, add a comma, and just go ahead and start a new line by pressing enter. And then put a curly brackets. We're going to set the C-frame to cframe.new, vector3.new, target position.x, start position.y, and target position.z. Outside of these parentheses, both of them, and in between the curly brackets, we're going to multiply that by cframe.angles 0, y angle, 0. And then go ahead and collapse this right here. So, or don't collapse it, this would be collapsing. You're just gonna move the parentheses all the way up here. It just looks nicer. I mean, you don't have to. It doesn't matter how it's structured. You can structure your scripts however you want. And then after we have that made, you can go ahead and play your tween. And then we'll check and wait for it to be completed. And then once it's completed, we'll check if there is a walk animation, and if there is a walk animation, we'll stop it. Finally, since this is a function inside of a function, you do have to still call it for this script to run. So we'll just, you can do that like this, but it'll wait for all of this to complete, so we won't be able to do stuff outside of this function until, well, the tween is done. So what I'd go ahead and do, and I would do task.spawn, and then we'll just basically have it run alongside the rest of the script. That way we can go in and pause it if we need to, which we will need to, because zombies can't get past the plants without eating them. So yeah, that is the new way of, at least that I'm going to do, the zombie movement. And then I'll eventually go in and add some custom speed. For now, I'll just create a variable up here. Just call it local zombie speed. And I think we'll just access the configuration and have all the detail in there. We'll just set that to be 15. And then you can go inside the tween right here. So right here is the time I had set before, at least in my other save file that I'm looking off of. It looks like I just grabbed the distance and then divided it by 11. So we'll just divide that by the zombie speed. Change of plans. How do I want to do this? Okay, zombie speed is for now just the complete opposite of Roblox humanoid walk speed. 1 is going to be insanely fast. It'll take 1 second for the zombie to complete a cycle. And 100, it'll take the zombie 100 seconds to get from the start to the finish. For now, I'll stick with 20 seconds. That does not look right. Wait, never mind. I must have already accounted for this. So, okay. The faster they are, the higher the number will be. Ignore my nonsense. Yep, I was right. That's still pretty fast though. For now, I'll do maybe 3. I'll do 3 walk speed. You can have it however you want, it's just temporary, and then I'll figure out the ideal walk speed later, and you can do the same if you want. Right, so now that we have that done, alright, perfect. It looks like everything sounds good with that. So we're going to go ahead and add a new module into the module folder, and you're just going to name this camera, the camera module, because why not? Why not have a camera module? There's a couple of things I'm going to do with this camera module. Like, I kind of wanted to add some sway to the camera when you're in the menu, and optional when you're in the game. local run service is equal to game get service run service. And for now, the current map is just equal to workspace wait for child current map. And then we'll definitely add a sort of menu system where you can select your worlds and levels and maps and stuff like that. So we're going to create a function inside here, and we're going to name it camera.start. And then we're going to add a argument called sway bool. This is just going to be a simple true or false, and it's going to be a bool value. It looks nicer with that green text there. So local main camera is equal to game.workspace.current camera. And since this is going to run locally, you can also assume that you can get the player too. Local player equals game.players.local player. But we don't need the player for this function. We're going to set the camera type to be enum.cameratype.scriptable. Then we're going to set the camera C frame to be current map.world1 wait for child camera. Wait for child's camera start dot C frame. It's going to set the camera C frame to this current map camera right here. I'm going to angle that down a bit more. And then once we do that, we're going to, I don't need to say that, we're going to set up a function called sway. And if we change our mind, we're going to set a empty value right here, and then above this function we're going to say swaying is equal to sway bool. Then if we are not swaying, then return end. But if we are, then local distance is going to be 0.004, and this is just how far it's going to move with the sway. The speed is how fast it's going to sway. And render stepped is just going to be run service dot render stepped. There we go. While swaying, we are going to task dot wait render stepped wait, just to be extra cautious. Main camera. Dot C frame is equal to main camera dot C frame plus vector 3 dot new 0 comma distance times math dot sign tick minus 0.1 times the speed comma 0. This is gonna set the new y value to be basically it's just gonna set it to be a sine wave. So it's gonna go up and down like a sine wave. Yeah. And it's gonna run at the speed of a tick. I don't remember if that's counted locally or on the server. Probably locally, because this is gonna run in a local script though. And then you can just go ahead and put that on multiple lines. And then I'll just go ahead and task.spawn sway. Actually, I'm going to rearrange this a bit, because just in case this function gets called multiple times, or if sways try to overlap, I think I'm going to rearrange it slightly. So, if we are not swaying, and sway bool is equal to true, then what we're going to do is we're going to set swaying equal to the sway bool, which is going to be true. And that is the only instance in which we want to start a sway. Yeah. Okay, that is the camera module done, and then you can go ahead and delete all of this. Well, delete most of it and comment out one of these so we can use it to test later. Now we're gonna get a couple of services here in our server-side script. Starting with server storage. And then also we're going to get server script service. Finally, well, almost finally, we got a couple more variables. We're going to get the remote folder, which is just going to be replicated storage.remotes, and the load remote inside that folder. Which, I don't have it. Do I have one of those? I do not. So you can just duplicate this remote in here and rename it to load. And then we'll go and get the current map, which again, we will set up something in a future tutorial where we can swap out that. Game.players.player added. Connect that to a function, so this function will run whenever a player joins the game. We'll go ahead and create a leader stat for them. And then we are going to fire the load remote for that player. Now back to the client side. There's a lot of scripting to do here. Okay, for starters, and I'll probably have to edit that out because that was a long pause for me to look at what I did. We have quite a few variables to add. Here in modules, you can go ahead and add a new module script. That's a texture. A new module script, not a texture. And you can name it plant controller. Duplicate that name and copy and paste it here. And then right here in configuration, you can just duplicate the zombie module here and rename it to plants. Just make sure to change it out in here, or you don't have to, I guess. This can say whatever you want it to. It doesn't have to be the same name as the module script, if you didn't know that. I'm gonna quickly change this to P shooter, and we won't have a walk animation or an E animation. We'll just have the idle one. Back to the client side. Here at the top, we're gonna get user input service, which is just going to be game get service, user input service, run service. I don't remember if we use these in this tutorial. If we don't, we'll use it in a later one, probably in the next one. After zombie controller, you can require the module folder, wait for child, plant controller. And then after that, go ahead and get the camera module too. And then we're also going to need the load remote that we just made there in server. Sorry, not in server script service, in replicated storage under the remote folder. I know it's a lot to really look at if you're new. And if this is your first tutorial, I would again suggest starting with some beginner tutorials before tackling a project like this. Right after we have these folder variables right here, we're going to add a camera variable, which is just going to be set to game.workspace.current camera. And we're also going to set the mouse to be player, which we don't have. Okay. Right after these modules right here, we're going to get the player, which is going to be equal to game get service players.localPlayer. And then we'll just set the mouse to be player get mouse. This max row right here, we'll keep that there. You know what? I'm also going to add that into my other one because I want to keep that. That's way better than how I did it before. I must have made that up on the spot in the last one. Right, so we have a few more variables. Bool values I like to keep at the top. And we're going to set one to be in-game, which for now you can just have it be true. Selected plant, which is going to be for testing purposes pea shooter, or whatever you want to use for testing. I want to use pea shooter. The tile, the selection box, which isn't made yet, which is just going to be inside of the client-side script. You're just going to add a selection box. Yeah, like that. So selection box is equal to script wait for child selection box. Now, right after all those variables, we're going to create a function called load save. And actually, we'll just go ahead and do load remote.onClient event, connect that to a function, and we'll get any data. Right now we aren't passing any data because we aren't saving anything, but in the future we will. And then we'll go and create a couple other empty functions. One of them we aren't even going to use in this tutorial, which is going to be this one. User input service dot input began. Connect that to a function. Input and chatting. Like I said, we're not going to use this one this tutorial. It's just there so we can have it. And then we're also going to create a function right here called update. And then mouse.move, we'll connect that, and then every time the mouse moves, we will fire the update. And if not in-game, then return end. But assuming we are inside the game, we're going to get the target, which is just going to be the mouse.target, and that's going to be whatever the mouse is currently hovering over. And if we don't have a target, then we will return. But sorry, and selection box dot adorny is equal to nil. No, okay, wait. We're gonna set the tile equal to nil and selection box dot adorny equal to nil just right after that. Yeah, okay. So if target has the tag tile, and really quickly before we go any further, we're going to go ahead and add all those tags on. Another thing, I kind of forgot to mention this, but you want your tiles to be rotated forward facing towards the zombies direction. So I have to flip all of these real quick. There we go, I went and flipped all those. Now you can just select all of the tiles inside the tile folder, go down to tags and add a tile tag. You can just name it tile, just like that. Now go back to your client folder, and if it does have the tag tile, we're going to set the target, or sorry, we're going to have the tile set to the target. And the selection box dot adorny equal to nil. And then else, if there is no target, we'll just set that to nothing. And then add a task.wait so it doesn't get timed out. Although it's running off of mouse movement, so it shouldn't either way. Yep. Finally, there's one more function that we're going to use later in the tutorial. which is going to be mouse dot button one down. Connect that to a function. And then we're going to check if we have a selected plant, and if we're in the game, and if we have a tile selected. But before anything else, we're really quickly going to add a comment for later. This is where we're going to load the map. And then right here is where we're going to do the camera stuff, which for now we're just going to do camera module dot start true, so I can make sure this works. There we go. The camera moves up and down a bit, and you can change all of the stats on the camera to whatever you want. I personally, for now, I'm probably just going to disable it. Okay, so inside of my plant module right here, I'm going to add a animation. Copy and paste this stuff from my zombie list. So the final thing I'm going to do for this tutorial is right here. Yeah, I should be able to just go ahead and, where is it? Right here, copy and paste a lot of this. Why not all of it, and then we'll just delete what we don't need. Okay, for starters, change this to new plant. And then we're going to get it out of the plant folder. Find first child selected plant. And just delete this line. If not a new plant, or if there is no new plant, then return end. We don't need any of this. And then we'll set our new plant to be inside of the plant folder. And also, we'll set the collision group to be plants. And then new plant dot primary part dot cframe is equal to tile dot cframe plus vector 3 dot new 0, comma, new plant, get bound box, get bounding box, dot y, comma, 0. And then finally, plant controller, dot start, new plant. And we don't have this function made yet, so we'll go ahead and do that. Inside our new plant controller, we're just going to create a function called plantController.start. And we'll just require the plant from that. Local plant info is equal to, we don't have that variable yet. So replicated storage is equal to game get service replicated storage Do the same for tween service. Actually, I think I just copied and pasted this stuff. And then of course I swapped out zombie config with plant config. Now what we can do is we can also copy and paste a lot of this, I believe. We'll just do it up to here for now. So if you didn't catch that, it's under the zombie controller zombie.move, or sorry, zombie controller.move function, and then we're just gonna copy these first 10-ish lines, 11-ish lines. Rename this to plant info. If we don't have plant info, return end. And you can delete these prints. We don't need those. Plant config, and then we're gonna pass through the plant name, which is gonna search this module and look for a matching name, which is right here. And then we're going to get the animation controller, and if you don't have a humanoid, or if you do have a humanoid, just do the same thing we did with the zombie. And then if you don't have a humanoid in the zombie, do the same thing what we're doing with the plants. Which, if you look inside the plants, you'll notice I added a animation controller, and I think I said to do that last time. It also has a animator. Rename this to idle animation. Plant info dot idle animation. And if it's not equal to emptiness, you're gonna set the parent to be the plant. And then instead of walk animation, it's going to be idle animation is equal to the animator and animation controller dot animator load animation. And then we're going to load the animation. And then also replace idle animation with the name and the animation ID that we're going to get from. Since walk animation isn't in this module, it's pretty important that you swap it out right here. I would go ahead and take this time to make sure that your script is looking close to identical to mine, unless you have some variable name changing that you did differently. So if we do have an idle animation, then we're gonna go ahead and just play it. And yeah, that should be this tutorial done, assuming everything runs smoothly. We have a bug. Oh, just a simple name spelling issue. You'll notice that at the top of here, I have the selected plant as pea shooter with a capital P and a capital S. I didn't have that in the actual name, which means it couldn't find it inside this folder. That's why capitalization, punctuation, and everything is very important in scripting. Well, it's placing, but it's not setting the adornee of the selection box. Weird. I also don't like how small the pea shooter is, so I think I'll go ahead and size these up a bit. That's better. Yes, print in-game, the target, the tile, and selection box.adorny. Oh wait, it's because I'm not setting the selection box. So right here inside of if target has tag tile, we are going to set the adorny to be the target. Which you'll notice now. Yeah, there we go. Alright, cool. I think I'll go ahead and wait 5 and spawn a couple of cone heads. I'll have to figure out what I'm doing for the next tutorial because I'm making this as I go. Everything you see here is what I have so far. Yeah, they just don't care, do they? Oh, and you shouldn't be able to, I don't have any checks, I'll add that in the next tutorial, but you shouldn't be able to add multiple plants on top of each other. I'll note that down. Yeah, I'll have to do some kind of system so the game can remember which tiles are taken. Well, that's it for this tutorial. Bye.